Hi. Um, there's a certain amount of need for separation. The term Kodesh literally translates not as holy, but as set apart. Uh, there is one place even in Scripture where the Almighty says, I've made you into a peculiar people, set apart from the nations of the world. You shall not style yourself, fashion yourself after them, follow after their ways and customs, and be like them, but I am making you a peculiar people unto myself, not to be confused with the ways that the nations create themselves in their own image, after their own likeness, as they see fit. There was one day I was thinking about it, and something about oil and water popped into my head, a little picture in the mind, that whenever oil is introduced into water, even if it were at the bottom of a glass of water, it would float to the top. Once it got to the surface, it would flatten out, it would rise above the surface, and it would just sit there and lay there, and it couldn't really be mixed in. It would remain separate. It's still touching, it's still a part of the realm or the world of this glass of water. It's in the glass, but not of the water, necessarily. It just kind of floats there. And if something happens that it stirs around, or someone shakes it or something, it may separate, it may bounce around, it may float around, some of the bubbles go down and everything, but they eventually rise to the top again, and, almost like the oil is repenting or something, it rises to the surface, it comes back to where it's supposed to be, to this even level, floating on the surface of this. Well, if if we were called, come out of her, my people, be not a partaker in their sins, that you will not also be a partaker in the plagues which befall the world as a result of this lack of adherence to the will and way of the Almighty. Some people say, well, I'm in the world but not of the world. Well, yes, that makes perfect sense. If it's in context, if it's appropriate. I saw a conversation one time. I was traveling and I was in Boulder, Colorado, and I saw a conversation between some girls who were a Christian and a girl who was Muslim. And like a fly on the wall, I'm just sitting, I don't say anything, I'm just way off to the side. And these Christian girls were dressed in low dress up here, high dress on the bottom, makeup, jewelry, all this stuff and everything. And they walked up to this Muslim girl who had that hijab thing. You could see her face, but her head was covered, and she had the full dress on and all this stuff and everything. And they walked up to her and they said, you're oppressed, and that's why you have to look like that. You can't leave your house without looking like that. And we're free. We're not religious, we're spiritual, and you're bound by having to look like that. And one of the girls, while she was talking, was chewing gum. I was like, and talking, and this and that, and doing the hand movements and this and certain tone to the voice and everything, and it just had a certain whole ambiance to the whole situation. And I was very impressed with the retort that came back, and that Muslim girl had said to him, well, actually, I feel completely free and not bound, because I'm not doing this because I'm oppressed, because my dad and my brothers and all of them, they live thousands of miles away, and I get up every morning and I do what I do, because this is how I feel and believe. I really feel like you're the ones who are oppressed in a way, because you can't leave your house without looking like that and going through all that trouble and everything, and you feel inadequate if you're not like that, and how are people going to view you and everything. That's bondage to me. That's a type of slavery to me. I'm the one who's free, I feel. That's what she had said. It was just amazing. And then she just kind of walks away, and those other girls were staring for a while. and just kind of moseyed off, And I thought, interesting. So what is the idea of being spiritual compared to religious then? Because that was one of the points that was made, was to them, being spiritual, not religious, was having no religion that would tell you how to be, outwardly or inwardly or any other way. Well, how is it that you can feel like spirituality is non-adherence to anything that is of modesty or humility or stuff like that, It seemed like they were using also certain contexts that were said, like, don't worry about what you wear, for is not life more than clothing. A certain principle like that, when used in its appropriate context, was actually speaking about, I'm not going to worry if my garments wear thin, where I'm going to get new ones, just like I won't worry about where my next meal comes from if I start to get hungry, because aren't the birds taken care of, and the flowers in the field are arrayed, and they don't worry, they just trust, and they're provided for. Well, the wearing out of garments and how you're going to replace them is the point behind don't worry about what you wear, for is not life more than clothing. It's not, hey, let's dance around on a beach and play volleyball in a bikini and be naked before the eyes of the Almighty and entice sin and lust and different things, and who knows who's walking by and stuff, and then turn around and use a certain verse in certain writings, don't worry about what you wear, for his life not more than clothing, if you asked him about it. This is just a completely absurd issue or point, because how is being not religious being spiritual? Atheists are not religious, but is that spiritual? Things like this, it doesn't make any sense to say that there is that spirituality is not of conforming to or adhering to principles that the Almighty spoke that He wants for His people to be, or how He would like to see us, and how He would like us to be, to walk modestly with Him. And there's a certain word, tsnius, in Hebrew, modesty. And I really believe that the idea of being in the world but not of the world is taken way out of context. I mean, it's not just something you can just say, like saying, okay, I saw it in a book, so I'm going to repeat it. I'm in the world but not of the world. To just see it and say it doesn't help. You have to be it. I mean, imagine if that oil remained somewhere down in the water. It defies the laws, so to speak, almost like defying the laws of physics. For some element down in there, in the water, to be water, to have all the characteristics of water, to be down in the water, and just say that it's oil, is a pretense. It's pretending to be oil. It is not oil. It's water. To realize that it is to be the oil that floats to the surface and remains separate. There, yes, true, in the glass, but not of the water that's in the glass, so to speak. That's what's intended. And so people should really define the idea of what they're reading in there. Yes, it's true that if we are to have certain adherence to religious actions, it should be towards feeding the hungry and clothing the cold or naked, and helping the poor and things like that. But that's a part of what's meant behind Torah anyway. All of it's in there. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. To be in the world but not of the world is going to shine forth in reality. And you should be able to notice inside as well as out and everywhere in between. It's just a state of being. So be as He wants you to be.